All right, then. So, sorry we were gone for so long, but we're back. We took a week off. There was a Conan Exiles server launch last week with the Drop Dead Cynical crew, so we played through the launch.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where me and Twisted were last week. Sorry we weren't here. Didn't mean anything by it, but we've got a special episode this week.
Yeah.
We've got the Lost Eurasians here with us. We're discussing a special topic today, I think, aren't we?
We are.
So you're an advocate for a special topic, Hapa Pride, the Hapa Identity, right?
That's correct. So I'm the angry shark, but my co-hosts just call me Shark for short, and I'm one of the main co-hosts on our live stream, The Lost Eurasians. We focus on Hapa identitarianism. So we are Happas who sympathize with the alt-right, the MAGA peds, or even the alt-right or the dissident right. But the reason why we created this group was we were sick and tired of this toxic culture going on in our Happas and this anti-whiteness going on in their forums, to the point where it was kind of making all Happas look bad. It was giving us a bad name because we don't hate our white side of our families. We respect both cultures. We get along with both our parents. But for some reason, we have a forum that's supposed to be, or a subreddit that's supposed to be dedicated to Happas. It's just, all it is just hating on white people and pushing a bunch of communist nonsense. So when we formed the Lost Eurasians, it was a way to bring together a group of red-pilled Happas to do networking. The goal is to, once we start growing some more, we start forming pool party chapters around locally. And even to the point, what I was talking to Adam about a little bit was maybe do a little conference where we get together in a conference room and have some speaking events. And one thing about us is we, in our group, we have Happas that have different ideologies in the right. Like we would have third positionists, we have libertarians, and we have even people who consider themselves national socialists. And a lot of the Hapa streamers, unfortunately, they still hold libertarian leanings, but at the same time, we want to keep a close relationship with them because we kind of agree on this our Happas culture, where it's pushing this, you got to hate your white side of your family, and if you don't, then you have white privilege and you are a white supremacist, and to the point that there wasn't anywhere else for us to go.
So for the normies in the audience, the Happas are half Asians, half whites, correct?
That's correct. It actually,
and you guys
go ahead.
Don't see yourself just as Asian or white. Like what you guys are trying to push for at the Lost Eurasians especially is this Hapa identity, that you're not just the sum of your parts. You are your identity. You are the Happas.
That's correct. So we don't try to get acceptance from one race and not the other. Instead, we identify us as both because we love both cultures and we kind of got the best of both worlds. A lot of people will say, well, Happas, they all have this identity crisis. They go bonkers and they hate like one of their parents. And that's actually not the case to a lot of us, to be honest, and in our communities.
And honestly, anybody can grow up in a broken home and hate half their families. I think that's how you get these fucking male feminists.
Right. It doesn't just affect the Hoppas. It also affects the mulattoes too. You have guys like Colin Kaepernick and Barack Obama who try really hard to become more black or get acceptance from this black community. So they would disavow their white half of their families, or in Colin Kaepernick's case, his adopted parents who were white. And they both came from broken homes. Like their father wasn't there in their lives.
Yeah.
But the point is,
There's a
it
few
could
jokes that
happen
could be
to
made there.
anyone. I'm sorry?
I said there's a few jokes that could be made about a mulatto household without a father, but we're above that. We're not going to do that today. It's
Right.
not why we're here.
So
Sorry,
another
feel free to carry on.
okay. Okay. So another thing that I wanted to talk about too is we have the most prominent Hoppas, especially on blogs and forums. They'll make this ridiculous statement that if your father was white and your mother was Asian, then a Hapa child from those parents are going to turn out to be psycho or an incel, or they're going to just, they're just going to be undesirables. While a Hapa who was born to an Asian father and a white mother is going to be like this clean Chad alpha male, and that's going to get girls, even though that is ridiculous. But the problem with that is that if you have an Asian male and a white female, or the other way around, it's not like it's going to make the kid look more Asian or more white. We're still going to look mixed, but I think it has to do with some of these Hoppas. They were born with a white dad and an Asian mother, and for some reason, they claim that they didn't connect with their white father, and they have this grudge against their mothers because they decided to marry a white person, so they can't identify themselves as just fully white or fully Asian. And they claim that's the reason why they cannot find themselves a woman, or if it's a woman, and find themselves a guy, or they face like discrimination and hate.
So basically, the poor me, this isn't my fault.
It's a lot of, yeah, it's a lot of victim mentality, and it's maybe, and a lot of us on the Hoppa right can agree. It's not because, you're half Asian or half white. It's maybe because of your attitude, your personality. You're creeping out girls, or if you're a girl, you're creeping out guys instead of just being confident and being yourself. And
Sounds like their Asian mom wasn't a tiger mom when they should have been.
yeah, exactly. And especially for like the main the main mods in our Hoppas, it's, I think the way to explain it is if you're if you look like a beta male, and or if you do not groom yourself well, or you do not act positive or have a very confident personality, you have no one else to blame but yourself. It's not that hard to go work out. It's not that hard to dress respectively or professionally, look good, and it's not that difficult to talk to a woman, especially a white woman, or an Asian, or a Asian man.
I beg to differ.
Right.
It's actually rather hard to talk to women these days, because anytime you look at a woman cross-eyed, all of a sudden you've raped her.
Oh,
no,
yes.
It's very hard to talk to leftist women. If you talk to a traditional woman in a traditional manner, you're going to go far.
Okay, so what you're saying is they just everybody needs to leave California if they want to actually get laid.
Put the soy down, go to the center of the Americas. Stop being on the coast. Yeah.
And these guys probably aren't talking to women, or they are going to these bars and clubs thinking they're going to score. And that's just not how it works, to be honest. And like, if you're being creepy towards them, they won't even talk to you. So I think, they claim how Hoppas that were born to white dads and Asian mothers are like these crazy, evil, white privileged people who are going to go on this rampage, but I think it's the other way around, to be
I
honest.
think it's just projection. I think it's just leftist projection in action again.
Exactly.
Because I don't know if you've noticed this. I mean, I kind of do know you've noticed this because we talked about it in the pre-show. But this same identity crisis, this same theory is pushed around by all the we was kangs people. Where if it's a black guy and a white woman, well, we're just melanating the gene pool. We're doing our job. But if a sister gets with a white guy, all of a sudden she's a traitor.
Oh yeah. They go berserk. And I think that's the problem with these people. They have an identity crisis. And it's not saying like we didn't either. We went through that phase, but after a while, we came to a realization like, you know, we're not going to be one or the other. Let's just work with what we have and look at the positives for both sides and understand that both our parents may be of different races, but they're going to love us no matter what. And I think for me, like people who say they don't bond, these Hapas who don't bond with their white father or their Asian mother, vice versa. I could say from my personal fact that I didn't have that problem. I may not look, you may not look like your parents, but um, like I'm able to bond with them because there's more than they're your parents, and you guys are going to have some similarities, and there's going to be some things you agree with and like, and there's some things that you won't agree with and will not like.
That you're not going to bond with your parents right away sometimes.
Well, it's not just that, but if you're raised right, you're going to be more like your parents than you are different from them.
Oh, absolutely. I even, I could even say like I share some personality traits from both my parents, but
you don't idealize only one half of it either and try to reject the other half like it's something dirty. Like part of growing up is you go through angst and then you come out the other side and you go, well, you know what, I'm more than just the sum of my parts.
It says in the chat, honey, you sound like you're in a tin can. Is she talking about me?
No, she's talking about Adam.
Oh, okay.
She's talking about me.
Oh, okay, never mind. I was just making sure my mic was working. But oh.
No, apparently my mic went to shit over the last like fucking 15 minutes. I don't know how.
Oh, okay. So this is where I want to carry on to this. The next thing I want to carry on to is um for Hoppas, I think good for us, like ways we communicate when we get together in pool parties or any conferences, when we exchange ideas and talk about our similar beliefs, we should do as it's kind of like an exercise. It's like you play like a word game with friends, but like kind of like we do, or on our channel, or what Hapa Supremacy does on their channel. Like once every couple months, we will just talk about the Hapa ethno state, and we would like brainstorm and talk about like what would ideal Hapa ethno state be like, and how will we go with it. And it's kind of like a fun thing. It's kind of like when you did with Joaquin and Underwater Alex Jones on that live stream about brainstorming space ethno state. And for us,
yeah, it's all about the putting forth the ideal, your version of the cultural ideal, and how you could move towards it. I like that thought exercise. It's a good thought exercise as long as you don't get wrapped up into it as like, oh my god, we need to do this now. Then you become one of these idealistic fucking over committed people who just won't see compromise and they just drive towards that goal and eventually fall way short because unfortunately life is a series of compromises, but it's all about getting more than you give when you're going towards a goal,
Oh, exactly.
So
but it's good to talk with people and see where you gauge against them. I love it. I love going on heel turn and having those thought experiments, those talks with those guys.
What does a Hapa ethno state look like?
So I think we were talking about it a little bit. So we were due. Of course, you have to be a Hapa in order to get citizenship in the Hapa ethno state. Um, and our Hapa ethno state would be pretty traditionalist. We would kind of have a.
Here's an early question from just a white guy on the outside, right?
Okay.
So to get citizenship, you have to be a Hapa, right?
That's correct.
But if I have an Asian wife and I have a Hapa child, do we get to come in as citizens because we have a Hapa who's basically a dependent?
We actually talked about.
Oh, go ahead. You talked about this. Excellent, cool. I want to know what you guys came up with.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you second, how do you make more Hoppas?
Well, yes, absolutely. We actually talked about this, and we all agreed if they have a Hapa child, they can join the Hapa ethno state because we're not going to separate them from their parents, and that would mean our parents wouldn't be able to join the Hapa ethno state, and that would be messed up. I mean, it's not like a treehouse where you get away from, mom and dad or icky girls. We even to the point where we would even permit Quapaws to become citizens of the Hapa ethno state.
Is Quapaw where you draw the line so you don't get the whole anchor baby situation like we have in the West these days?
Yeah, so Quapaw is the cutoff rate. We don't know if we're gonna they're gonna become a citizen or they would be on a work visa or.
Does Quapaw work both ways? Because again, audience is mostly normies. Is a Quapaw both 1/4 Asian, 3/4 white, or is it only 3/4 Asian, 1/4 white? Which is it both or just only one?
I think it's only one. It's we do the quarter Asian, 3/4 Asian. That's what we mean by Quapaw. So if at least one parent is a Hapa.
Okay. So it doesn't matter about the other one whether they're Asian or white.
Right.
Okay, but cool.
We would love to have white people and Asian people visit the Hapa ethno state on a vacation. So if they have a passport or a tourist visa, we would love for them to come check out the place and stay at one of the places and explore our Hapa ethno state and our culture. But when it comes to being in the government, since we want to keep it more of a Republican style government and a very traditional society instead of a Weimar America, for us it would be only Hapa would be able to be in the government. And then we would also heavily vet on who comes into the Hapa ethno state, since we wouldn't let any Hapa or Quapaw into the ethno state, especially if they are a communist or self-hating.
Yeah.
Because it's the same reason why in a white ethno state you wouldn't want to have a bunch of white shit libs or communists living in the white ethno state, because they could be very subversive.
So it's basically it's a good faith screening. I don't want to say it's a purity test because it's not just that. It's more of a good faith screening interview is what you're talking about.
Right. And it's also a way, if the white ethno state was actually formed, we in the Hapa community have a place to go to. We could build our society, kind of thing.
So would the Hapa ethno state be opposed to a space station ethno state?
We love space. I mean, I was talking to
a couple
of my co-hosts, and it's we love space.
It's that next frontier. It captures the human mind so much.
Well, we even talked about it too in our Discord and our discussions. If we weren't spending all this money on welfare and paying all these ridiculous, or paying for these ridiculous DEM programs, we would have enough money to fund another trip to the moon or even a trip to Mars.
Yeah. It's not just a white cultural thing, but it's definitely a Western cultural ideal to just push the frontier. Right? The Germans wanted breathing room. They wanted their own, their own lands to colonize. And unfortunately they pushed brother wars to get it. in the 40s. But I think that it's just the Western spirit to push that new frontier to expand and just keep going.
Exactly. And yeah,
and I don't mean any offense by that, because it does seem like the Eastern philosophy is very insular and have what you have and just be very traditional and build it up inside your own borders, you know? Do you see that as well, or do you think that there's more of a pioneering spirit in the East as well?
I think we're starting to see that more in the East. Huge Brain knows more about that, but I've talked to a few Asians and they like the concept of going into space. I mean, they really love like learning about the different planets, about colonizing Mars. They even love playing space-related video games. I've met a couple playing games like Warframe, or there's another one too that I used to play. Call it I think it was called Section 8. It was an old game by Microsoft, but
oh yeah.
They enjoy, like, they would be happy to see like NASA or SpaceX take a trip up to Mars.
Now, Office Whisperer brings up a funny point. He says he thinks Louis Laval would love the Hapa ethno state as long as you get him with a nice Asian QT and start having him have Hapa children. Which put a thought in my head. Do you see I don't know how to phrase this right. I'm going to struggle a little bit, so bear with me. Do you see Quapaws as a way to expand the identity, going both ways in the culture, and having children with full whites and full Asians? Do you see that as a way of expanding the identity and getting your message out there by going that way, or is it just start at home first?
I think it's start at home. Like, we don't want to sound like we're pushing for like all this race mixing or this
program,
force make race mixing, and we're all like, all my co-hosts and in their community, like, we'll even say, like, we don't believe in pushing for like forced miscegenation. It's up to the individual what they want, or who they want to be with. But the reason why we would also let Quapaws into our ethno state, because if they would not be able to be in the white ethno state, we could tell them you can at least be in the Hapa ethno state. So
culturally, it'd be close enough for them, they wouldn't be too out of their element from their parents. Yeah, I can see that.
That's correct.
Twist, you got any questions?
I mean, not really. You guys have like pretty much answered anything that I would have asked.
I really like listening to the Lost Eurasians because, like I said, I love the thought experiments, and they go down these nice paths. The last one I went to was the Hapa ethno state, and I got in a nice argument with a fellow. Mostly because I'm one of the people who really dislikes nihilism. I don't see the purpose of nihilism. I'm very, very anti self-destruction. I really want people, if they have a goal, I will respect a person who pushes for it more than I respect the person who's the absolutist for self-destruction through lack of compromise.
Well, exactly. And the problem about people, or a lot of people in both circles, they think that things aren't going to get better. We're not going to be winning anything. Like, we should have fought this battle like 40 or 50 years ago, and it's just going to get worse from here on out. But that is not the case. And we're seeing in this country for the past couple of weeks, our side has been winning. There has been a lot of rejuvenation, not just the beginning of Trump's announcing of his candidacy and becoming president, but it seems like we're actually putting a fight back in this culture war that's been lost since, probably, in my opinion, since the establishment of the Frankfurt School in America. So I think we just got to keep on pushing, and we cannot be cucking. We cannot be backing down. Like I like the memes going on, like Corey Lewandowski in that interview saying "womp womp," and the reason.
Oh my god, womp womp has made my month.
And you know what's funny? It did not backfire because a lot of people on social media are using it as a meme now, or is using it as a reply. So like the leftist media, this globalist media, they're trying to make us look bad, or they're trying to like attack us and make us play by our own book of rules. It's just not effective anymore. Um, People start saying things on air politically incorrect, and people like start to wake up to it and it's almost like they get permission to finally agree with it, and they turn it into a talking point.
Now I'm gonna bring up something, because a lot of the people, I'm not a huge identitarian. I don't mind identitarians. I really actually like identitarian more than I like most lolbertarians. And the reason is, identitarians are the only people in the world, I feel, who are fighting for the freedom to disassociate.
Right.
And I just don't mind that. If I don't want to see a person just because I don't want to see a person, I shouldn't have to come up with some make-believe fucking answer. I should say, I just don't want to serve you my business, or I don't want to be around you. I should be able to say that, and I should be able to be with like-minded people.
Absolutely. And they have that right. And even we heard about...
I think people should have that right. And if they target me with that, so be it, right?
Right.
If somebody doesn't want to hang around me because I'm white, that seems to be the only form of disassociation that's allowed these days, is anti-white disassociation. And if we're going to be in an equal society, I'd love to have it just be fucking equal disassociation.
Right. So, like, if a white person goes into a bar that's mostly Asians or ran by Asians, and they're not allowed, or they get kicked out and are not welcome there, it's like no big deal, because I could just find another bar. And there's probably bars out there that have mostly white people. So it's like,
just go down to your Irish pub or your German tap house. Like, it's not a huge thing. I mean, I get that. I used to be a weeaboo when I was in high school, so if I was still 18-year-old me, I'd be a little offended at that, because I wanted to, you know, that was something that was ideal to me back then. But it's their right to tell me to fuck off, kid.
Absolutely. And that's what a lot of people, you know, they're complaining about, oh, you know, businesses can't discriminate, like the gay wedding cake, that issue that the Supreme Court overturned. But people need to understand, if they won't provide a certain service for you because they can't, or it's because it's not part of their belief, you could just go to another place to get a service done. But I think for these people, it's about if I don't get what I want, I'm going to throw a fit and I'm going to screw you over.
Well, that whole thing was actually just specifically targeting one religion, because I saw a hidden cam thing done by Steven Crowder where they went to a Muslim bakery and tried to get a gay wedding cake made and got told to get the fuck out of there too, but nobody's gonna pitch a fit over a Muslim baker not making a gay wedding cake.
Absolutely.
I'm all for, you know, a government service can't discriminate on any grounds. Fine, it's government.
But it's a private business.
We're in America, that's the way it should be. Fine, the government can't. But a private business should be able to tell me to get the fuck out because I have glasses that look funny. And yeah, Cuz is right. The baker offered them the supplies. He offered them how to get books. He offered them, you know, how to learn the skills. And it is a huge double standard, like the Autist Whisperer is saying. It's a huge double standard. And the different rules for you and me thing that I'm seeing in society is just frustrating to me. Mm-hmm. It's just so frustrating.
Well, especially that there probably are bakers around that are owned by gays or owned by like leftist hipsters.
Served. Yeah, or other Christians who will happily serve gay people.
Or just a gay person would probably make the cake better because they would understand the cultural references in the description of what the person wants the cake to look like.
Exactly.
There would be a better dialogue between two people who share more similar influences than disparate influences.
Yeah.
And I think it also relates to when they were fighting to legalize gay marriage. I don't think, to be honest, it was for gays to get their right to legally marry, because a lot of gays that you would know, like they're just not interested in it, or for them they don't think about that. It was these small fringes of the LGBT community that wanted to subvert the institution of marriage because they want to just tear down everything this country believes in, or tear down all the standards a society is supposed to have.
I'm honestly
Mm-hmm.
not too perturbed by the whole gay marriage thing. If you want to get stuck in that type of contract, go right ahead. You can see how it fucking sucks with straight people, especially the whole
Right.
divorce aspect of it. Fine, go ahead.
I I occupy a weird place with gay marriage, and I always have. It's probably because I was brought up neocon. I was brought up by a very Reagan-esque family, and I don't talk about it a lot because you don't ever hear of people moving farther right from neocon. They usually move farther left. I'm the rarity. Don't think there should be gay marriage just because I don't think there should be a marriage system that's overseen by the government. Because marriage is a religious institution, civil union is a legal contracted union. I don't see where the two should touch.
Marriage has only been a religious thing for the past few centuries. It began and always has been, beforehand, a legal contract.
But I get that twisted. Understand that for the last couple hundred years, it has been a legal or a religious institution for long enough that it's part of that religious identity. There was a split in the Church of England over the laws of marriage on religious grounds. So cut religion out of it. If you want to be married, you can be married. If you want to have a civil union that has the tax incentives of current marriage, have a civil union, married in a church, verified by the state in a union. You still do both sides of the paperwork. I don't care.
Yeah, honestly, I think you'd probably get cheaper taxes if you just filed independently. But whatever.
No, you don't. It's actually a lot of tax breaks for being married.
Really? Okay.
I did not know that, to be honest.
I didn't know.
But
I mean, I'm single and I'm probably never gonna get married.
So. Filing jointly is a huge break, especially if you have kids. Way bigger than filing separately. Especially if you don't abuse social programs. If you abuse things like welfare, filing separately is where you want to go, and not being completely married. But if you're not abusing welfare and social programs, it's really just better to just have a traditional union. And I did not hear anything about a UK heterosexual couple that won a case to be declared a civil partnership. But it sounds like it's a perfectly valid point that I'm trying to make, that a civil partnership should just be the legal name for that union in the eyes of the law. I don't know. That's just me.
I agree.
I'm a half boomer from a neocon family.
Yeah, so wouldn't that be a better thing for so-called marriage across the board, and then leave marriage specifically to religious ceremonies? And then, like, even straight couples are just a civil union?
I'd be okay with that. I'd be completely fine with that.
Because that sounds like a better option, to be quite honest.
I get called crazy for having this fucking belief system. Both sides are like, no, you're violating the sanctity of marriage. And then the leftist side is, no, you're watering down the gains of the gay fucking people. And I'm just like, no, I'm talking common sense, guys. Listen, if everybody's equal, everybody's equal.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Well, the left has always had this
fucking
thing.
Psychotic.
Yeah. The left has always had this thing where some people are more equal than others. Because they all read Animal Farm and took it as a fucking guideline, just like they fucking read 1984 and took it as a guideline. I'm like, those were supposed to be cautionary tales, you fucking retards.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be what reality should be. But unfortunately, like you said, they took it too seriously, and now we are experiencing it.
Yeah, like fucking in some interview, Hillary Clinton literally said that she thought the point of the book 1984 was that you should trust the government. No! That was the complete fucking opposite of the point of the book. I was always under
the impression it was trust nobody. I don't know.
Yeah, or Jake Tapper from, I think it was him or Chris Cuomo, one of the two from CNN, says you should only trust the mainstream media. Don't believe anything else.
Like, bitch, I read that book my junior year of high school. I ain't trusted y'all's fucking asses since.
Yep, and next thing you know, they're relating social justice issues to kids' cartoons or Disney movies or Harry Potter.
It's because they only know such things. They're children. What do you expect?
Yeah, they just haven't grown up out of it. And if just those pictures of Princess Jasmine isn't able to get affordable contraception because Planned Parenthood is underfunded, or
every state usually has county health departments, and if they don't, they're retarded. You and can if they're get a contraception, like fucking birth control pills, at these county health departments. Sometimes for a cheap price, as low as $10. Sometimes for free.
And if they are a princess, wouldn't that mean that they would be into royalty, which means they have a lot of money, which means that they would have personal doctors? I mean, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't go to some...
Yeah, they have people that can go out and buy that shit for them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they won't go to a health center that only covers for Medicare if they are a princess. I mean, it's just... Or, you know, when they talk about, like, gun control or banning guns, because apparently in Harry Potter, they didn't use guns as weapons. They used wands to defend themselves.
Yeah, those are the same as guns, and they were highly regulated.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, Kazi Kazama, absolutely. Like, who cares? Like, literally, I think every time I see some SJW, or I hear an SJW say, like, they relate some social issue or something to a Disney character, or Lord of the Rings, or Harry Potter, that meme of Peter Griffin sitting on the desk saying, "Oh my God, who the hell cares?" is going to come into my mind.
All right, I know I'm a bit of a shit poster at heart, and I know we talked about this on the pre-show reel, but I wanted to get into it because we were talking about leftists and fiction. Facebook groups this week have gone absolutely retarded with the fucking with the disband ICE and stop the immigration enforcements. I'm on this group called Nerdvent, and the admins are... And I hate using this term unironically, because I feel like it makes me just a pants-shitting kook. But I don't like saying it, and I don't mind when other people say it. I just can't... It's hard for me to say, but it's a leftist globo-homo admin. Like, the truest sense of the word. Like, they are a transgender immigrant in a lesbian relationship. Like, the truest... poster child for what you'd see of the meme of the global homo. And they are just posting the most stupid, asinine shit. Like the boss from the Monsters, Inc. with a Trump name tag on it, talking about kidnapping children and locking them in cages. And my favorite thing this week is just every time I see this shit on anything on Facebook or Twitter, my only reply has been womp womp. And it just... I swear to God, whomping one leftist meme can make my day. Just, I could have 23 hours of shit if I have 1 hour of womp. I won't care.
I think you did that to the story about John McCain's daughter being upset with Trump as well.
John McCain's daughter! I did do that. She was talking about how she'll never forgive Trump for attacking her father, and my reply right away was, womp.
I mean, exactly. That's, it's better to say womp than explain it, because I think people would understand you doing the womp better, because most people on our side will know what that means. It's like Crimea River, your dad was called Songbird McCain for a reason. I mean,
He's the closest thing we had to a traitor,
Right.
and they put him in the Senate. I just don't understand.
Yeah, I just hope Arizona makes a better decision when McCain's gone. And
They can't make a worse one.
yeah, exactly.
The only worst decision is that they fucking Weekend at Bernie's him up in the corner. And then literally have Bernie Sanders' hand up his ass, fucking puppeting him around the Senate floor. That's the only way they could do fucking worse.
I mean, I couldn't have said it any better. And then bringing back to the Hoppas, we have this Hapa senator named Tammy Duckworth. It's W amputee, and she's another leftist that's supporting these dreamers and doing the stop separating families, and
Is she
another
a double hand amputee?
No, it was a double leg amputee.
Oh, she should be a double head amputee.
Probably. It's like, she's another one.
Did you just say some girl should get her clit cut off?
No, head.
Head. Like, yeah. But she's another one. She cares more about the people coming from south of the border invading than her actual constituents, which would probably be both whites and Asians. And she kind of sold them down the river. Because I know her donors want, all that cheap labor.
Well, of course. Oh, then they bring up the bullshit about them being from like Honduras and whatnot. And they're all like, we fled Honduras to another country. And I saw this really great cartoon about they fled to another country from Honduras, and I'm like, great, you're in another country, problem solved.
Exactly.
You're in Mexico, fucking stay there.
I don't understand economic refugees. Like, okay, I like to explain it as a my house and my backyard policy. If I have a pool, everybody in the neighborhood is not invited to my pool because it's a hot fucking day. I should be allowed to put up a fence and tell you to go fuck yourself and call the police to escort you off my property and back to yours if you hop my fence to get in my pool on my hot day.
Yeah.
America needs castle laws is what I'm saying, really. But
oh, gee.
I just don't get the butt hurt over that. Like, it's common sense. Every person who argues for open borders needs to just have squatters mandatorily live in their house.
Exactly. All those billionaires in Hollywood or these coastal elites in Silicon Valley, they need to invite all these migrants to live at their homes. They give them a bed, they give them a home. Call them and be like, and you can't do this not in my backyard nonsense. They live with you. If you want them here so badly, you bring them in as one of your family.
And if they commit any crimes, you get to go to jail too.
Exactly.
You want the public to be their keeper, because that's what's going to have to happen in first, because they don't have a job lined up, they don't have a house lined up, they don't have transportation lined up when they first get here. They're literally walking over a border. Fine, you be your brother's keeper, and you're responsible for any crimes they commit. Which means as soon as they come in this country illegally, you have to serve time.
Which means you get to be separated from your kids too, and they go straight into DCS custody.
Yeah, 100%. I think that if you're going to support that, fine. If everybody paid, that's one of the things I actually respect the alt-right for. Because after Charlottesville, all the people who stayed, they're paying the price for their beliefs, but not like oh my God, they're bad people. Like, they've got the courage of their convictions to stand there and still hold it. You know what I mean? If you saw a leftist doing the same thing, it would be a magical, life-altering experience for them. I don't think we'd have leftists left if they lived their convictions.
Oh, exactly. And a lot of these wealthy people or these coastal elites, or especially some boomers too, like that, work, they're part of the management class, and they work these high paying jobs, or they're retiring with their nice pensions. They talk about, they hate Trump, and we should be empathetic and support all these people crossing to this country illegally, and these poor children. But if you ask them where their zip code is, I guarantee you 99% of the time they live in these wealthy white gated communities away from everything else. It's kind of like what you see in Brazil, where you have like these nice gated up, nice white communities, and surrounding it is just the slums. They live away from all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's more, but we need to bring them in and you have to live with them. But you know why? It's because a lot of them too, a lot of these people are people who mow their lawns or clean their homes, watch their kids, even though if the wife is a housewife, she still has this nanny from south of the border that's not here legally to take care of the child. I mean,
Well, it's not just that. It's the Democratic Party wants them because it's votes.
yep.
That's why California specifically has made it to where non-citizens can vote. That's
Yep.
bullshit, of course, because it's only supposed to be citizens voting in our elections. But there you have it. This is simply just a power play. The Democratic Party knows that they have no more power. They're ousted. But to hold on to that power, they bring in people who don't speak the language, who don't understand what's going on, and then they tell them this is who you vote for. And then they tell them you don't have to learn the language so they can keep them stupid. This is the same mentality that kept East Berlin in a black hole, where they thought like the rest of the country was burned to the ground until that Berlin Wall fell, and they're like, oh shit, they've actually been technologically advancing since the war. We got lied to and whatnot. And this is how the Democratic Party operates. And unfortunately, I was on the inside of that because I used to be a Democrat. And then it's stupid. It's nothing but a power play.
And that's another thing for Hoppus too. And I talk about this. As a Hapa, do you really think open borders is going to be beneficial to you? Because that just means your wages are also going to be driven down. You are also under threat of being rejected from college admissions, even though you're highly qualified, because they rather have.
I wanted to talk to you about that,
Oh,
the
okay.
college admissions thing. So, do you see this as a good thing? Well, not as a good thing because it sucks socially, but is it a good rallying cry for the Hapa identity ideology that you hold, that Asians are starting to get the same treatment as whites are, with the, oh well, you're too privileged, you're too smart, you're too successful, so now you don't get into college anymore, and all these underprivileged quote unquote people who are less qualified than you get the slots in colleges or in jobs.
I seriously hope what was happening with Mayor Bill de Blasio was saying, how now they're gonna dumb down the college admissions for these elite public schools, so all these browns and blacks could be able to join these schools even though they are underqualified. And it's just a way of saying there's too many Asians here, they're too smart and too privileged, so we gotta change, we gotta make it so it's not just them going there, and it's pissing off the Asian community.
Well,
They're actually, I think they're suing New York, and I think they're suing Harvard because Harvard's the same way with these discriminations against them.
it's also another discriminatory act of oppression done by the Democrats. They tell all these people that they're too dumb to succeed and that they need help to rise above. And it's a total lie. If you work hard at something, you will get to where you want to go. But instead of preaching that to them, they tell them that they'll never amount to anything without their help. They're basically holding them back and telling them that we're the only ones that can help you, we're the only ones that can liberate you. It's another method of basically mental abuse.
And I think this is going to be their next target too. They are also going to target the Asians, especially the Happas, because they'll say, well, you're half white, so you get white privilege and all of that. But the Asians, because they'll say, oh, they're the model minority. Most Asians tend to be in a higher socially economic or a social economic class, or they tend to
Almost like
work.
they have a culture of success and effort.
Yeah, and
Right,
hard
and they
work.
actually try hard. They actually go to school. They do their homework.
That
They
is
do well on their
100%
tests.
the problem. Is Asians have a culture of effort, and a
Yeah,
lot of the ethnic minorities that get preferential treatment have this.
stigma
Ha,
against intelligence.
it's not a stigma against intelligence. It's like Autist Whisperer was saying. It's the learned helplessness that the left has trapped them in. So they look for the Gibbs before they try to make the effort. Making the effort is the last option for them,
Yeah,
and it needs to be the first option. And
yeah,
I don't know how to teach people that. I don't know how to advocate for that. I just don't know.
Exactly. And it's not just going to affect the universities or any private or elite schools admissions. It's going to affect especially Asian males in the tech industry, such as Silicon Valley. Because after they throw out all the so-called privileged white males working in the industry for more diversity and more women, they'll probably target the Asian males next and say, "Oh, you guys are too privileged and too smart, and it's just not fair to our brown and black employees or our women employees."
well,
So,
that's all
and they
fine and
will get the
dandy because
short
then
end
they're
of the
going to
stick.
find their entire infrastructure crashed.
Exactly.
And then
But
they're
it's
going to
just
be locked out of it.
it's about jealousy with these people. They are just jealous. Instead of saying, okay, there's some things that are better at us that are better at than us, it's like we got to stop them. We got to make their lives miserable and make them as
So,
miserable as us.
do you think that this learned helplessness, this misery, this need to pull others down instead of pushing yourself up, is the biggest problem that the Hapa community is facing, especially from itself? Like, is that the message that our Hapas has been pushing that you're fighting against?
Right. It's that, it's all white people's fault, and we just got to destroy them, and we're going to also support white genocide. And that's not in, we're fighting against that because, like I said, most Asians too, they also do a purity test like the whites. So like they won't consider you Asian enough, like you said earlier. And you know, I think we're gonna get the short or also be part of the shorter end of the stick because we will also be dealing with troubles of getting into certain schools or getting a certain jobs because they see us as half white and they're too busy having their diversity quotas that they will be willing to discriminate against us too, and they are willing to say, oh, we have privilege, we gotta like make it so you guys don't have all this power, and they're going to try to subdue us too, like they're doing with whites, and what they're going to start doing with Asians, like we saw with with these Ivy League schools and with New York, the public elite public schools in New York.
Yeah, I've been growing very depressed. I've never been nihilistic. Like I said, I really hate nihilistic people, but I've been growing more depressed. And honest whisper, there's no such thing as cultural appropriation. There's people mimicking cultures because they appreciate them, and there's people who are throwing their own culture to the wayside because they hate them. But you don't appropriate culture, you just exemplify culture. You can't steal something that's an identity in the ether. You can only take it onto yourself or throw it away. You can't steal it. It's not only someone's. What about you?
Yeah,
Yes.
we
Before I make my point, I want to hit Autis Whisper's question on there.
right. I was reading that question too. It's since we come from both cultures. For us, it already feels like we're appropriating both cultures. So I think it's dumb when people say, "Oh, you're appropriating this or that culture," and it's like, well, so what? Are we supposed to just walk around butt naked or just act like total vegetables? I mean, it's because we got personalities from both sides, whether it's our values or our interests. So it's just these people saying cultural appropriation. It's like I could call out, like, for example, when that Jeremy Lamb kid on on Twitter was calling out that one girl who wore that Chinese dress to prom, and he was like, and he's like, my culture is not your prom dress or something, and accusing her cultural appropriation. You know, it's like, dude, you're wearing a t-shirt and shorts. I mean, those pieces of clothing actually started out in the West. So don't telling her that she's appropriating your culture. I mean, we could say you're appropriating.
You appropriate Dutch culture. You fucker.
Right. So it's like he's appropriating Western culture. So it's just like this. It's just annoying. It's
You ever
like,
been to a Pizza Hut? Goddamn right you have. How dare you appropriate this culture?
I think some of it has to do with jealousy because they look good in like their culture's like garb than them. I don't know. It's just, or it's just,
I feel like it's social gatekeeping, right? Like
yeah,
people see themselves as becoming lesser when they feel like they are. It's the learned helplessness fighting in society again. It's that you keep being told that you're a minority and that you're lesser than white people by the media, and that white people hate you. So anytime you see a white person dressing like you or appreciating what you have, you feel like stealing from you. Even though you steal that, it's just something you can take on board yourself.
right. And the media also plays a part in it too. They say, well, you're only half white and you're going to be oppressed too because you're mixed. Um,
And that's what I want to go into next is, okay, I grew up in the West Coast in the late 80s, early 90s in the Portland area of Oregon. And one of the most depressing things after going away to the Navy for 10 years and then coming back, growing up, we had a lot of Koreans come into the area all of a sudden when I was about 13, 14. Right at the end of middle school, start of high school age. A lot of Koreans came in. We started these very insular Korean family units. And there were a lot of half Asians of varying ethnicity mix. One of the really consistent ones that I was friends with was Polish Japanese, which was, I gotta say, I don't want to be like tooting people's horns, but that was one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. Was a half Polish, half Japanese lady. Holy shit. Breathtaking even at the age of 14. But I mean, I was 14 too, so don't fucking read that into pedophilia. It was just, yeah. Anyways, the Asian cultures were the ones that were kicking these half-white kids, basically. Because for the first time, they saw full Asians, full Koreans, people coming into schools from Asian families, and they wanted to explore that side that they couldn't get the full experience of at home or with their other half-Asian friends, and they were just getting rejected. And that always seemed weird to me growing up, like, that the Asians were the ones discriminating, but that was just, that was a stereotype on TV, was the disapproving Asian father, right?
right.
And you got that. I go to sea for 10 years. I come back, and all of a sudden, everybody hates white people, and my mind is blown. White people hate white people. Asians hate white people. The half-white kids are getting shit on even more now by black people for being half-white. And I just don't understand it. It's blowing my mind. I don't know how to reconcile what's happened.
Well, that's the thing, if I've faced any discrimination, it was actually not from the whites. It was from, or the bullying. It wasn't really from the whites over my race. It was the actual Asians or the browns and blacks. The whites, like I said, they just said, "Oh, I'm a half Asian," and it's pretty much it. It's like, oh, this guy, he's pretty chill, and
yeah, that's really cool. Does your mom know any good recipes?
oh, she does, and so
that's honestly the thing that we had the most going towards the half Asians was, that's really cool. Does your mom know any cool recipes? Can I come over for dinner?
right. Oh yeah, it's always good to learn both recipes and both sides of the recipes, and it sure beats spending money at like a Vietnamese restaurant or Chinese takeout where you could make the food yourself, and which could be a lot tastier, a lot fresher. I mean, say the same with burgers.
Yeah.
I prefer to cook my own burgers on the barbecue, and because I think it tastes a lot better, to be
It
honest.
does. Anything you make yourself is seasoned with the work you put into it, and that's part of it.
Exactly, and cooking is like an art. So this is like your artwork, and you want to enjoy your artwork. I mean, if your art tastes good, that's great. I mean, you don't want to eat bad art. So when you're mastering cooking recipes, that's considered a great skill, to be honest. And it's it's a good way for you to say to yourselves, "Oh, I don't need to go out to McDonald's to get something to eat. You know, why don't I have some vegetables in the fridge, or I have like chicken in the fridge? Then you know, I'll go make myself like a healthy chicken meal, like chicken and broccoli, or I'll make if you have rice, you make kind of like a chicken and veggie bowl. You don't
Rice
need
is
to
just the world's most versatile food. I love it as a grain. Like
exactly.
Europeans were just missing the mark when they had wheat and oats as cash crops to feed the expansion of colonialism. Rice would have done so much better.
I don't think it would have grown too well in that kind of climate, though.
They were colonizing everywhere else. They shouldn't have been transferring those wheat seeds into low yield crops in everywhere else. They should have been growing rice where they could, or corn in the Americas too.
Yeah.
It depends on the continent. Like it has to be in a very humid area, like a
Sure.
tropical weather. So it could get away in some southern European countries, like the coastal parts where they could grow rice. But it's very just
Well,
be sure to have like a nitrogen
Rice
based
will.
soil.
No, Mishima brings up a good point. Rice will grow anywhere. There's species of wild rice that'll grow damn near anywhere that's fucking irrigated enough, that's moist enough.
Okay.
Like you can find some long grain Mexican white or long grain Mexican multi grain type rice that's just it'll grow damn near anywhere.
Absolutely.
As long as you don't flash freeze it in the early morning, you'll probably grow it anywhere.
I've even had chicken marsala with rice, and it's pretty good. To be honest, I think it's healthier. It tastes a lot healthier when you have it with rice than with mashed potatoes. But I've had it with both, and who would have thought if you just add that marsala wine sauce under that rice with the
My
chicken, it'd
wife
be
makes an amazing chicken marsala with rice, and you know what else she makes that's amazing? A cream of pork chop on rice.
oh
It's just on white, long grain white rice. Just oh, because it soaks up that gravy, that sauce from the cream pork chop, and it's just so good. It's got the nice salts that get into the rice from the pork. It's a treat. It's an absolute treat. But we're coming up to the end of the program. I thank you so much for coming on, talking to us about this. I really like every once in a while having somebody on to interview, expanding the reach of the show, bringing new people in. Yes, honey, I am craving creamy pork again. All right, stop. Don't mention it. I already talked about it. Mouth watering. I can't crave sushi and creamy pork in the same week. We will go poor. Pork is expensive out here. We are in beef country. It sucks. I mean, it's good for the beef, but it's bad for the pork, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways, as I was saying our thank yous. Do you got anything you want to plug? What's your show schedule like? Tell the audience. We've got your Twitter down below for them to visit.
Right. So usually we have a live stream Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our last stream was last night. We talked about the white and Asian bugmen. We were planning to break that down to parts, so we did part 2. We're deciding when we want to do the white and Asian bugmen part 3. We're definitely going to have our next live stream this Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We're still trying to decide who we're going to have on as a guest or what topic but we also have that. Be sure to follow all of us on Twitter, and we also have a Streamlabs. So if you want to ever send out a super chat for us to read during a future live stream, be sure
Did
to
you collude on me? Because I know that's a good segue for me to talk about the Patreon that we started here because we hit 100 subscribers, and I know Twisted wanted me to
You mean the
plug it at the end of the
Patreon
show.
that you...
Did you two collude? Did you two collude the side chat while I was giving a spiel to the chat?
No, I haven't even had the side chat open all freaking stream.
Lies. Lies. Lies, I tell you. Fake news. You, ma'am, are fake news.
I just
There's
like
collusion between the half Asians and the former Democrats to turn me into a shill. I swear to God, I won't be having this. except for I'm going to have it. So is there anything else you wanted to plug?
But
anything else you wanted to throw out there?
pretty.
You got a Discord link you want to throw in the side chat? I'll throw it up in the chat.
Sure. I could put the Discord link up right now. It's the Lost Eurasians. And other than that, I think pretty much said everything.
Excellent. Well, we were on a 1 week hiatus because of Lord Cat's server that he opened up for his patrons and his subs on Twitch. We've been playing Conan Exiles pretty hard. There's your Discord link for the invite for everybody.
Alrighty.
So that's why we took our little hiatus last week. But we're back with a vengeance. We'll be coming back next week. I don't know what our topic will be. If you guys have something you want to see, throw it at us on Twitter. You know me, I'm at Top Keck Studios. Twisted is at Twisted Puppet. And we will see you next week for the next episode of Top Keck Live. See ya.
Bye.
See ya.